This module is one in a series of modules for guideline development and the grade process. My name is Nancy Santesso, and I will provide an overview of the steps in the guideline development process. When approaching the development of a guideline, it will be important to first consider the steps in the overall process and the involvement of the various groups. This diagram outlines the guideline development process. It is based on a systematic compilation of guideline processes used by organizations worldwide. It does not provide the details for each step, but if you would like more information about the practical steps, you can read the original publication or visit the website from the Mac Grade Center that is listed on the slide below. First, the guideline process has been divided into two main parts: the overall steps and the involvement of the groups. Although separate in the diagram, these steps and the groups are interrelated, as you can see from the many arrows between the groups and the steps. I will also point out that the steps are not necessarily sequential as presented here, as guideline groups can move between steps as they work through the process. One of the first steps to the guideline process is coordinating a group who will oversee the process and who will select members from the other groups involved in the development of the guideline. The groups will include the guideline panel, the external groups who might provide peer review and provide input, and the various working groups who, for example, might conduct the systematic reviews of the evidence. Typically, the Oversight Committee will organize and plan the whole process, including budgets and training. The next set of steps, highlighted in orange, is about determining what will be covered in the guideline. Guideline groups will need to determine what topics are of priority to cover and the important questions that are of interest to their target audience. Take, for example, a reproductive women's health organization, who may decide that the top priority is prevention of cervical cancer. They will then need to decide whether the focus is on treatments or screening, and then which treatments or screening tests to review. You can see by the various arrows that many groups will be involved in the prioritization and topic selection. The next set of steps in blue cover the synthesis of the evidence and judgments of the quality of that evidence. Important to point out here are the boxes to the right, which highlight that the review of the evidence is not just about the benefits and harms of the interventions or diagnostic tests. Many pieces of evidence play a role in the guideline development process, such as information about the values and preferences of patients, resource use, and effects on equity and other issues. Often, this type of information is gathered by different working groups in the guideline process, with input from the guideline panel and stakeholders. Once the evidence is compiled and agreed upon, the guideline panel and often the working groups will need to develop the specific recommendations, which will also include decisions about the strength of the recommendation and the specific wording. At that point, the recommendations will need to be peer-reviewed and the final report written. The process, however, does not stop with the final report of the guidelines. Dissemination of the guidelines and their implementation are often part of the guideline process for many organizations, and also an evaluation of the use of the guidelines by the target audience. Depending on the topic area, the guideline group will then need to determine when to update the guideline, and the entire process will start again with updating. Many of you will have noticed the boxes along the right and left side of the diagram. Typically, these are boxes included in the development process down the center of the diagram. However, it was realized that in particular, conflicts of interest should be considered throughout the entire process, as individual conflicts may change over the life of a guideline. In addition, it is important that the methods and the decisions made at each step throughout the guideline process should be documented and transparent to all groups involved in the process, and in particular users. In summary, this diagram provides a good introduction to the overall process of guideline development, both for those leading the development and for others contributing to the process. Other resources and modules are available that describe the detailed steps in the guideline development process and also about the grade process. For a comprehensive list of the practical steps to the guideline development process, please visit the website at the top of this page. There you will find a guideline checklist. If you would like more information about how the checklist was developed or how the figure was developed, you can read it freely on the Canadian Medical Association Journal website. And if you have additional questions about the overall process, please contact support@gradepro.org. We would be happy to answer your questions.